Hey everybody, Mike Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer Hobby Supply. Today we're going to do ACT3 update 55. Can't believe I'm at 55 already. Can you guys? Okay everybody, this update's going to be a little bit boring probably because you've seen most of this stuff. But we're going to cover what I have done. And I'm sure you've already noticed some things, but let me start from square one. Okay, one of the things that you can see is that I have the light inside the motel on and underneath the canopy, and I also have the light shining up on the sign hooked up. I have not cleaned up the mess. I've got a mess in the parking lot there of scenery material and stuff that I haven't vacuumed up. I have not glued the trading post down yet, and I have not glued the house down. You can see that the house also has a light inside, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. Another thing too that you probably have noticed, the light, I knocked Brownie's gas station here, and it is now loose, and I've got to reattach it to the plastic there, and then I've got to put some ground cover or something around the base of it to keep the light from leaking out, but we'll get to that another day. I could not get the light, or I couldn't seem to get the light to work inside of the Hogan. I'm going to work on that again. Another thing that I have done, since we're working our way backwards here, after the last video, I'm just not sure I like these buildings that close to the crossing gates. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to figure out some way to get rid of that stuff and cover it up. But nevertheless, we'll worry about that another day. As you can see in this video, if I go all the way over to about here, you can see that I've used rust paint on the rails all the way down and around to the crossing over there. I have not cleaned the top of the rails, and I have not ballasted track yet, but that will be one of the next things I do. I just have not gotten that far. The next thing that I will mention, or that we'll talk about, is I do have this block of buildings glued down now, so I cannot move these buildings or anything. That's where they're staying. As I mentioned last time, I have the bar glued down. I now have the Ridley Hotel glued down, which I need to do a little repair on the sign. I knocked the sign loose. I do have the fire station glued down. I do have the church glued down. I do have this section of buildings glued down. I also have some lights hooked up in Selena's Tavern, and you probably can't see it very well right now, but we'll turn off the lights here in a bit. I also fixed the sidewalk on this, if I get my fat hand out, that building there. I've got the sidewalk fixed. It needs to be weathered. Use some weathering on it and crack the sidewalk and stuff, but that's not, I can do that easily. But those two sets of buildings are glued down. They will not have any lights. They will only have street lights on the outside, simply because those are plaster buildings and the windows don't go all the way through. I could put some lights on the outside, but they would normally rely on street lights. As you can see, I made a template and I cut out the little angled road going up to the building in the back, the little parking lot. I do not have that scenic along the edge or anything yet. Totally scenic, I should say. If I swing back over here slowly, you can see, starting with the little corner of the hotel here, that I put a little tree of some kind in there. Don't know what those trees are. They're JTT trees, come in a box. They're supposed to be forest edge forest edge trees. I don't know. I don't know if I really care for the color of them, but I don't know. I used it. We'll see how that goes. I might touch that up with a little bit of acrylic paint or something. But anyway, you can see that I did put some ground cover behind that. In other words, back right here in that little triangle. And then some of that will be filled in with a little bit of ballast, obviously, when I ballast the track. I used another one of those little trees behind the bar. I used some more bigger trees behind the bar in the hotel. And there's a tree, actually, I think there's just one tree back there in between the fire station and the hotel. 2 trees between the fire station and the church. Purposely left that spot open by the church. Pardon me. Purposely left that open by the church because I kind of plan on doing maybe a cemetery there. Someone suggested a cemetery. You can see that I've got 3 different trees in the background back there behind the building that's set back. I've got a couple of different trees coming down the road there, and a few different kind of trees behind these buildings here. Now, if I stand way back here, in my opinion, that's kind of starting to look like a town. Excuse me once again. There'll be other trees put in here, but I don't know where and I don't know when. But I'm going to have to let you guys go for just a second so I can get this frog out of my throat. Okay, about the only other thing that I can tell you right now at this point is you can see I've moved the caboose over here temporarily. If I look, let me adjust my... If you look down in there, there's quite a bit of space in there. I'm going to make a park, as I've said, I'm going to make a very thin park in the center right here. That park will have that caboose in it. I've decided to put the flagpole in the park instead of at the fire station. It'll be across from the fire station. The fire station takes care of the flag. And there may be some small trees in the park or bushes. I'm not exactly sure. We'll see how that works out. But the next plan of attack will be to put a curb in there and then put the scenery inside of the curbing and then come back and paint all the street. And that little bit of scenery back behind the white Salinas Tavern there, you can see the hot glue sticking out. I've got to cover that up with something, and then I'll be able to paint all that. Once I get that park in there, I'll be able to paint all this road and then start putting in the details and stuff. I will also have to get the cemetery done, if I'm doing a cemetery, which I think I will. I'll have to get it done back there in that little triangle space before I can move on. But once I do that and get the street lights in, that'll pretty much finish up that area way back there that I can't reach, and then it'll make it much easier for me to continue on down the layout here. I really didn't want to glue any of this stuff down simply because I may have to work around it, but I have plans there. There's going to be some fencing in between the taco stand and the trading post. There may even be some fencing in between the motel, and probably fencing behind all of those since it's right on the track. But I'm not sure what that fencing will be yet or anything, but that I do have a plan to put some in there. There will obviously probably be some foliage and ground cover that goes in around the house back there, and then a driveway that goes back to it. Then I think I've mentioned that the parking lot in front of the trading post will be gravel. And then probably the last scenery I'll do is on this very outside edge here. But really, I guess for now, that's about all I can tell you about the town at the moment. So let me see what else I've got for you today. Okay, here we are with the lights off, looking at the lighting that I've put in. No big deal. You already knew about the taco stand, and you already knew about brownies over here. But you can see the light inside of the house behind the trading post, which the trading post will have street lights in front. You can see how much light there is around the motel, which there normally would be. You can see that the sign shows up pretty well. The lights are much brighter on the camera than they are in person. So if you were just looking at what I'm taking with the camera, if you reduce that, if you picture that being reduced by about 50%, that's what you'll see here in real life. The camera's picking up way much more than there is. You can see the lights in the Ridley. You can see lights in the church, which is definitely out of proportion to the way it looks in real life. You can see that there's a red light over the upstairs of Salinas Tavern, and you can see that there's a hoedown going on inside the tavern tonight. So far, those are all the lights I got, but like I say, this will really brighten up into a town whenever I get the street lights in. And there will also be street lights behind these buildings here, a couple of them anyway. They're on the other side of the track. And of course the lighting will just work it as we go down. Have not made any decision on water tanks yet. I think I'm just going to move it down to the left a ways, but that remains to be seen. But anyway, that's what you see. Hang on a minute here. Let me back way up, if I can do it without falling over everything. You can kind of see how everything comes together. We got an open window here, but we've got all the lighting for the scrapyard and everything that you've already seen. Go around to the town, and then you come around and there's the mine, and on down to the ice dock, and then way down to the engine house down there. So the lights are starting to tie into each other and make the room look like there's areas of lighting when you look at it in the dark in here. I'm liking it so far. Of course, all my crud is on the table. And another thing I'll mention too, as long as we can still see what we're doing here. I have a mess on the floor, but I have a bunch of untidied up wire, as I have done in the past, underneath there, that I need to get tidied up and stuff. But I need to put all those street lights in before I do that. So anyway, without rambling on, I think that'll be almost it. Let me think of what else I need to do. Sometimes you wind up having unwanted visitors in here. Apparently Mothra has made an appearance on the layout. Got to get that thing out of here. I didn't know where, I saw it fly in here the other day when I had the door open, didn't know where it went. And there it is. Deader than a doornail, of course, but anyways. We got to watch who visits our layouts. I think you guys may have seen it, but I don't know if I shared it with you. As I do the layout here, I run out of places to put stuff while I'm working, as you can see by the crap that's on top of the layout. But I did take my little scenery material cart that I had under the layout and dragged it out, and then put my paints and stuff on top of it. And then I have my ballast and my soldering iron and alcohol, scenic cement, and all that junk, plus the scenery materials on it. And I just leave it out here so I have a place to get those things from and put them back on too, which doesn't make it any neater in here, but it does help. And really what I was going to show you here is that I've got the track on the T-track modules. I decided to put a inner sighting on this one of mine so that whoever's running on the inside line can at least pull a train off and stop it if the train isn't very long. I got the 11 and 12 inch curve on the corner. Haven't even begun to start scenery on it, but if you guys, and I think I mentioned it, but if you guys remember, I had the Las Cruces Depot on the previous layout. I'm going to change the name of it because I don't want everybody saying it doesn't look like that down there right now. So, but I am going to put the depot on there, but it'll probably be called Rio Hondo or something. You know, it'll be called something else. I'll take the Las Cruces stickers off it, and people can compare it to Las Cruces if they would like. But anyway, that's the T-track module. I was pretty happy with the way it went together. Got the holes also, by the way, got the holes drilled in the corners to be able to level it from on top. I've had some guys tell me that I'll probably want to replace the nylon screws with some metal ones of some kind. And we'll wait and see how that pans out. But anyway, enough of the T-track. There's nothing new going on with the models other than I was on eBay the other day and there was a visible V8. I don't know if I mentioned that in the last video. Anyway, there's a visible V8 that was being sold by Goodwill of San Francisco, and all the money was going to charity, so I bought it. It should be here today. Aside from that, guys, I don't really have anything else for you today, so this is legitimately going to be a short one. Okay, everybody, I hope you enjoyed Update 55, and as usual, thanks for watching.